have something to tell you. Marriage won't fix your lust. It won't. It won't fix it. So let's talk about it. Marriage is not going to fix your lust. If you look at people in a certain way, if you are, watching CORN, if you are maybe doing it before marriage, if you are just not aware of your lust, no matter how small it is, and guys, people are beautiful, people are handsome, you can be like, oh, that person's amazing, but, just think about them in a godly way, right? So marriage is not going to solve that. Doing it in a marriage, okay, is not going to solve all of the other underlying issues. In fact, I think that marriage makes you see all the issues you kind of didn't really realize were there. Now, guys, I'm not married, so I'm definitely not an expert, but I have enough, forethought to realize that if you don't fix things like lust before marriage, it's going to seep out very quickly. And I don't mean passionately grabbing your partner and kissing and la 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 la. No, I mean like you're gonna want to look at people to the point where it could be emotional cheating, physical cheating, or cheating by, phone type of stuff. So another thing that goes along with that marriage won't solve your lust is stop idolizing it. Step 1, stop idolizing marriage. Marriage is about sacrifice, it's not about you. If you want to be a nun or a priest, it's not about you, it's about God. Do everything you do for God, okay? Let it be for His glory, right? So in a marriage, you're gonna have to, sacrifice going out to eat. You're gonna have to sacrifice your time for your kids. You're gonna have to sacrifice how you feel to take care of your spouse at times. You're gonna have to cook for more than one person, clean for more than one person, etc., etc. And you're gonna have your own faults that you didn't even really think were faults or that were there at all. So there's gonna be a lot of things, So just stop idolizing it. You're gonna go through hard times. You're gonna be mean to each other, etc., etc. And I mean, if you are gonna be married, do it for the glory of God and just be like, we're gonna be as nice to each other as we can because I love you so much, right? So stop idolizing it because it's not gonna solve your lust. So how do we go about singleness? Now, if you are married and you're struggling with lust, I can't really say anything about that. I'm not married. I don't know that much about it. I mean, I recommend getting help, talking about it, figuring it out, kind of rewiring your brain by how you look at other people. But if you're single, like me, St. Paul talks about singlehood. 1 Corinthians 7:32 through 35. I want you to be free from anxieties. So no matter what stage of life you're in, give your anxieties to the Lord. Quote, the unmarried man is anxious about things of the Lord, how to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife. So this is saying that when you're single, you have less responsibilities. You have less things to worry about. You still have things to worry about. You're still an adult, but you don't have a spouse, you don't have kids, and you likely don't have a house yet. So it is a bit easier to come to God. Put down your phone, tell your friends that you're going to text them later, or you'll call your mom later, spend some time with the Lord, right? Whereas when you're married, it's like, me and my spouse are fighting. This is happening. I want to be by my spouse. Marriage is not bad, but it is distracting, if that makes sense. And then when you involve kids, it's like the kids need to be fed. The kids, you gotta make sure they don't die every second, It's distracting, it's beautiful, it is. It requires a lot of sacrifice, but it's but it is distracting. His interests are divided. His interests are divided. That, put simply, his interests are divided. The unmarried woman is anxious about things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. So when you're a woman, you're trying to be holy in and out, and a man is trying to learn how to please God. And guys, you need this time when you're single to learn how to come to the Lord. Because when you get married and your husband or the guy is not being a spiritual leader like he should be, the woman does not know how to follow him or is taking the lead of the man, it goes into scrambles. You don't know which is where, and so being single means you have time to figure out not only your vocation, should you even be married, do you want to be married, but also, how do I become godly? Because the more you practice gratitude, the more you practice patience, the more you practice any virtue, including, virtue, so not, and purity, so not giving into lust, and chastity. Chastity is the opposite of lust. So when you give into patience, gratitude, chastity, man or woman, it becomes a lot easier when certain things arise in your marriage. You're gonna argue. You're gonna have conflict, and that's okay. Everyone has conflict. I love my mom, and we conflict one another all the time. That's just how a relationship works, no matter if it's with family or friends or with your spouse. So when you're not distracted, when your attention is not divided, you have more time to realize and to grow this muscle inside your head of, how do I practice virtue? What is it actually? How can I figure this out? Here's some time to discern it. Yes, there are people who get married at 18 and live happily ever after. Yes, there are people who get married at 30, 40 and live happily ever after. But the thing is that when you get married, you just want to know, how do you solve issues in a Christ-like way? How do we come to issues as Christ would? How do we, instead of yelling or swearing or getting pouty or getting silent treatment, how do we properly talk to one another? And one of the best ways to practice that, among a bunch of other virtues, is when you're single and when your attention is not divided. You're able to be in the word of the Lord more. You're able to pray more. You're able to not get interrupted while doing so. Like, you're able to not get interrupted while praying the rosary. Your attention's less divided. So when you train your brain to be like, how would the Lord do this? How would the Lord figure this out? I'm gonna pray to the Lord, etc., etc. What would Jesus do? When you keep making those thoughts run through your brain and exercising those thoughts, it's going to become a lot easier when you do have a bunch more responsibilities in the future, such as being married and having kids. So, let's continue. I say this for your own benefit, not to put any restraint on you, but to promote good order and serve your undivided devotion to the Lord. So, I say this for your own benefit, which means, man or woman, when you're single, you have this time for less distraction. And not to lay any restraint on you. This means being married is good. Being married is beautiful. This is not to say that being married is bad, or that everybody has to have, be a nun or be a priest, complete chastity. Very few people should become priests, should become nuns. Most people know that they want to be married, right? So this is not to be like, you can never do this or that or blah, blah, blah. Because having relations equals life. It equals children. It's beautiful, right? So marriage is very, very much needed, and families are the backbone of society. That's just the reality. So, not to lay any restraint on you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. So, this is good order. Single. Use that muscle in your brain to give thanks to the Lord and to have patience and have chastity, and among other virtues. And then, when you do get married, you do have all these distractions. This muscle has been trained more and more to give thanks to the Lord, to think about what the Lord wants, to pray about things, to have prayer and meditation, to put your nose into the Bible, you know. So the more we do these things, and the more I'm not saying you have to like pray for 4 hours or go do a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm just saying that we got to train our brain to come to Christ first. He's not a last resort. No, Christ should be a first resort for anything going on in your life. Something bad happens, pray about it. Something good happens, give thanks to the Lord. Something weird happens, pray about it, talk about it. Something, maybe you do something bad, repent. Repenting is very powerful. So secure your undivided attention to the Lord. Because when you're married, you're not going to have as many chances to do that. So if you're single, do it. Along with, part of not having distraction is work on your lust. Work on what you idolize. Oftentimes it's marriage. And realize that marriage will not fix your lust. This time, right now, is what you need to be doing in order to be as virtuous as you can. And it's a process. And marriage does make you more virtuous. I've seen so many beautiful couples and how they have become married couples over the years become much better people because they talk to one another, because they know how to resolve issues appropriately, because they work on themselves and on one another, and that's beautiful. So you're not going to be perfect, you're not going to do everything in a short amount of time, but understand that marriage will not solve lust. Stop idolizing it. And St. Paul tells us about singlehood, that it is a time of less distraction. And we should use this time to train the muscle in our brain that makes us come to the Lord as a first resort, not last. So guys, what do you think about this video? Are there times where you catch yourself maybe like daydreaming or thinking of all these amazing things that are going to happen, like, oh, I'm going to get a bouquet of roses every day, and I'm going to go out to eat on fancy dinners, and I'm going to get what I want, and the kids are going to be amazing, and they're never going to be weird or be mean or scream or yell or cry, so we oftentimes idolize marriage and family and all these different things. But, guys, even though I personally am not married, but I do have family members who are married and have kids, and it's wonderful to babysit. It's wonderful to help them. I personally know what I want to do, but I'm utilizing this time to really, really work on myself. Because the things that I tell you guys, I'm also telling myself. Like, what can I work on? What do I need to think about? How can I guard my thoughts and my heart, among other things? So, what do you guys think about this video? Let me know in the comments, and have an awesome, possum day!